Good morning, AP Computer Science students. I hope you guys are all doing okay. I just wanted to update you on what I have found out about the actual AP exam. So Ms. Volan told me yesterday that the AP Computer Science A is free response questions over what AP Computer Science A considers to be units 1 through 7. So if you, I know it's been a minute, but if you log on to your AP classroom, right? So if you're over here in your AP Computer Science classroom, we're talking you're responsible for units 1 through 7. I don't know how it looks on yours. I've gone ahead and unlocked all of these, I think all of these progress checks for you to come and work through adhesive, but you can also work now through AP Classroom, as you probably are with some of your other AP classrooms or classes. So it is free response, okay? So do you pay, and I don't think this gets into free response, until unit 2. And we can start going over these kinds of questions. If we take a look here at this free response question, I feel like that we've done it before, but maybe not. So it's the light sequence, free response. The assumptions assume that classes listed in your quick reference guide are there. Parameters are not null. You can use any of the accessible methods listed in the class defined. And this, I've said this before, but writing significant amounts of code that can be replaced by a call to one of these methods. One of these methods that that you have access to. So they're telling you that this is a class already, and you have, so this insert segment inserts the string segment and the current sequence starting at the index here and the string segment, and then returns a new sequence. The implementation is not shown. They're not showing you the actual code. We don't care about the actual code. It's not important. Know that that method exists and we can use it if we need to. So we want to write a statement to create a light sequence object. Grad show that has the initial light sequence 01, 01, 01, 01. Write the statement below. And then so basically, you're going to create a new light sequence, right? I don't want to do a file, but I will show you the scoring details for Well, that's not what I thought that was. Sorry. Slows internets, I guess. There we go. So really all we're doing here is creating this light sequence object grad show. So up here, we want to do a call here. Light sequence. And the parameter sequence is the initial sequence used for the light display. So that's where we would put in this 01, 01, 01, 01, 01, 01. And we would also want to do a, because we would be creating a new object. That kid behind me has been staring at his computer forever. It's crazy. I don't know who he's texting. Jokes, we got jokes. So where's part A? Okay. So I'm gonna pull this over here for the part A. This is what I was saying. Our sequence should be light sequence is grad show equals a new light sequence, and then we give it that information, the parameter that gives us our 1 point. So this is exactly how it would appear. This is creating a new object called grad show. This is creating the new light sequence object. So this declares and creates object grad show. And then the other part is making sure that we have new. That is one thing that I will say is very important, is the new part when you're creating a new object. So then we move back over here to part B. Part B says write a statement that will call the display method to display the light sequence for the grad show object. So that's simply making a method call. Whenever we're talking about that, method call, write a statement that will call the display method to display the light sequence for grad show object. So here is our display. It's going to use the current sequence to turn the light on and off for the show. Is that what we want? Call the display method. That's the display method, right? It doesn't take a parameter. So in order to create or to call that, we're going to use our object name, which is grad show, and then dot display, paren, and it will call this display method on the object grad show. So here's the method again with our open and close parens, and then it displays it on grad show, calls it on grad show. Simple, simple, right? Part C, write a statement that will be used to update the grad show light sequence to 0011, 0011, 0011. And then write that statement below. We simply need to change. So we are going to come up here. We have already got this light sequence has been created, right? Change sequence seems like this would be the method. And all I did was simply go through and read the descriptions, right? Change sequence is what we want to use. So we're going to call this method the string sequence is our parameter. It takes a string parameter called sequence. So down here, I'm just going to put this in as my sequence. So I'll say grad show dot change sequence, and then place that in within the parentheses. Simple, simple. The insert is telling us again where it is that we're inputting what we're going to insert. There's our object. This one has two parts, right? Because we're creating a result sequence where we insert that. And then part E, remove first occurrence. We have this old sequence. It contains some sort of string segment, right? And we want to remove the first occurrence of that segment from the old sequence and store it into the string new sequence. So again, these are samples here. So they are not, you're not hard coding those things. Those are samples to show you if this was the old sequence and we said 11 was the segment, this would be what would be returned or stored in the new object. So that's what they're talking about. Oh, goodness. So one of the questions here is, or one of your points is using index of to find the segment in the old sequence. So index of is a string so they are going to want you to use that index of method to find the segment. Okay, using some other compared to, don't try, just use index of. You have it, it's there. There's no reason to make it harder, right? So if that segment is in the middle, we want to take the first parts and the last parts, right? and put them back together again. If it's at the beginning, it makes it real easy because we're just going to take the rest of that and put that in the new sequence. So this is how they've done it. They have taken this index. So we create a new variable. I know that it's a new variable because it says int, right? That only happens on the declaration. Well, it happens one time. So index, that's where we're using this index of the segment. So we're looking at old sequence, looking for the index of the segment. Then we're going to create this new sequence. Notice that we're also creating the string new sequence, because in our instructions, they didn't tell us that that had already been created. They said old sequence had been declared, initialized, has a value, right? New sequence is what they want you to put in. So there's our string new sequence equals our old sequence. And then we use our substring method from the beginning to the index. So, and then from the index to the end, right? This is going to give us the last value without going out of bounds. Because the length, yeah, it won't go out of bounds. So if one of you may have thought about creating an if to see where that is, and if the index of is 0, then we're only going to do this. If the index is this, then we're going to do that. That's a lot of work, right? I mean, yeah, it'll work, but it's highly inefficient, and it's not going to, it could cause problems. There's no reason to be obtuse and create all this stuff when you can use a couple of methods and be done. So if index is 0, so if this is at the beginning, well, 0 to 0, the substring is nothing, right? So it's not going to have anything. And then this index plus segment length, if index is 0 and segment length, let's say, is the 2, right? So now we're going to start at character 2 and carry it on to the rest because of that substring method. If you only give it one parameter, it's going to start, you're giving it the starting point, and it'll do the rest of it to the end. And then, let's see, 2 lights arranged on a 2-dimensional plane. Vertical distance between 2 lights is stored in the double variable A. Horizontal distance is double variable B. Straight line is A squared plus B squared. Difference straight line distance between the 2 lights according to the formula above. So squared is the square root, right? This is gonna, yeah, and pow is the power. So these are your math functions. So usually we don't see print lines, but say just print. Yeah, sure does. Says print. So we have our system.out.println, and then this is your grouping, right? Your math grouping, and using parentheticals to group and decide what happens first. So clearly we're going to come all the way inside, and we're going to do the a squared, because that's what MathPal does, plus MathPal, and then we're going to come out and do the square root of that combination. Alternatively, we wouldn't have to use the power or PAL. You could do A times A. It works. It looks shorter. This, I mean, you're already bringing in the math class, so you might as well do PAL. You might want to change something later. I know not for this instance, but in a program, it would make it easier if we wanted to do this into trips. But for this instance, you wouldn't really. And that's unit 2, free response progress check, right? So unit 1, I did want to go through, is your primitive types, right? Variables and data types, assignment statements, compound, right? How you make your plus plus and minus minus, right? We've done those kinds of things before. Casting, remember we've talked about, that was a long time ago too, first semester. Objects and instance of objects, calling methods with parameters, that's what we just got through, right? String objects, string methods, and math class. My point is definitely check out AP Classroom. Units 1 through 7 is your free response questions will be over. And then we'll determine how that is. I heard there's not going to be any face-to-face actual testing, but I'm not positive about all of that. We'll let you know, know that College Board is working. I heard IB just canceled all their testing too. So there's a lot of stuff going on. Keep checking in. Keep trucking along and pay special attention to these kinds of things in this practice. And, we can always get together through Zoom, not in real life. But always get together and go through some of your problems, either like this, or you can share your screen with me or with us as a group and work through some code. Don't give up hope. Spring break's right around the corner, right? A couple more days. Continue to work through adhesive, because I can definitely tell you the first unit, we're going to need to be on the first unit. Or the first semester, you will need to have finished first semester, at least. So keep working on adhesive. Let me know when you need stuff. Don't forget about my AP Classroom. Let me know when you need stuff there too. We're all here to help you guys, man. Guys. I